What's come up for you? What's been your process so far? What's been your experience so far? Microphone, please.
I think for me is when you said that there's fear because you have to let go a lot of things that means to you.
When you're at the door?
Yeah,
Yep.
that kind of feeling. Because I couldn't articulate what was that. And I had this fear that I'm losing it at first. Like, I always analyze, I know what I'm doing and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't feel right anymore.
Mm.
So it becomes my constant state, I think, is not to do that. And I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm getting dumb. I'm not thinking anymore. And I had that fear. It was funny when you said that. I thought, so that's what it was, because I couldn't articulate.
Articulate it.
Yeah. I just didn't know what it means.
Yeah.
And then now actually I find myself when I am thinking, when I'm processing, it doesn't feel normal anymore. And I always caught myself saying, why am I doing this? Why am I thinking?
Yeah.
And then I go back, okay, stay in the present, and then it feels right again.
Yeah. That's
So
becoming more familiar to you.
It's more familiar
More
now.
homely.
And I'm changing. And, when you say purpose of who I am, I always think I'm very analytical. I am this. This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then now when someone asks me, I can't say that anymore. It's no longer who I am.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm starting to feel like, who am I?
Yeah.
If that's not who I am. If does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah, so just for me, that's just a process. And I think I'm still there, sitting there, but starting to feel that way, which is, before it freaks me out, now it just feels right.
Yeah. Just pass the microphone to your left. Okay, just hold that for a sec. I completely grasp what you're saying. As you're going along and as you deepen your experience, it's kind of alien for you to not be present, and you're like, well, why am I thinking about this? And then when you come back to the present moment, you're like, I'm back home. I'm back, in my skin, if you like, but not this skin. It feels familiar. And just normal conversations you have with people, it's just different. People ask you a question. Monica, we were just having a coffee, and you said, just to give you an example, you said, how do you feel about where things are headed? And it's just like, and I said to you, yeah, good, But if I was being 100% honest, I feel wonderful about where I am. I'm not thinking about where it's headed. If I was, but it's just me going, yeah, good, But it's when someone asked me that, I was like, you kind of think yourself, well, where are things headed? And yes, I have a feeling of where, I have a feeling of where I am right now and where the next step is. Like, for example, I was speaking to Boyd, and I was like, we're talking about how we are automating a lot of the things, and I was saying that, a lot of our focus is bringing things to online presence, because online to me is a reflection of oneness, where we are all connected as through the web as one. And so I know that's, kind of where it's headed, but I'm not trying to head it that way. It's kind of, so it's a strange question, It's like when someone says, well, how do you feel about where it's headed? Well, your attention is not where it's headed. So I'm not feeling anything about where it's headed. What I'm feeling is where I am. And the answer to that was, well, good. So kind of like that's what integrates in my brain, if you like. When she asked me, how do you feel about where you're headed? Really, my answer was about where I am. But then I don't go, well, really, I don't care about where it's, I just, it's just conversation, Same as, I don't, you're not really necessarily going to go up to people and go, who are you? you know. But if you're interested about who they are and, you know, about, you know, the person that's in front of you, you ask different questions. You know, next time you're asking someone the question about what is it that you do, maybe you want to ask, why is it that you do that? Because then you'll find out who they are, who they really are, rather than trying to measure their status or, you know, try to think how much money they have in their bank account. Are they more happier than you? Do they have more power than you? You know, and the reason you're measuring is because you're trying to identify yourself in where you fit in their picture. It's all about yourself. Where do I fit in their picture? You know, oh, I'm higher than them. Okay, then I can act like I'm higher. Yes, I've been doing that for a long time. Yes, I've been there, done that. You know, whatever. Okay, so you had a good little insight. So do you want to share that one?
You know, when you often hear people say, but I did all that for nothing.
Yeah.
When you said you have to give up all these things that mean things to you, and
Yeah.
I had a little joke to myself and said, you're doing all that for nothing? And then it's, yeah, exactly, because that's everything.
Yeah. Do you get that? I'm doing that all for the nothingness. You know? That was a little good insight. I chuckled at that, so I thought she can share that. Thank you. I am doing all that for the nothing. Any other comments, questions, contributions? Okay. So we're at the edge of the door, looking outside, feeling what's outside, sensing ourselves outside. But at the beginning, if it's your perception is that you are looking, then you are looking something that is separate to you. You are looking. The drop is looking outside of the bottle and seeing the ocean, but the drop thinks it's looking at the ocean. But it's not the drop that's looking at the ocean, it's the ocean, because the drop is not really the drop. The drop is really the ocean. It's the ocean that is looking at itself. Can you grasp a part of that? So I think the most powerful question is, who's looking? Who's seeing? And seeing is the sensing, because you're using your sixth sense. And why am I talking about sensing? You're not seeing because you use these eyes for form, to see something of physical nature, right? But the physical is really not physical. It's actually the non-physical. It's actually formless. The drop is not really the drop. It's actually the ocean. But you have to see that with your third eye, as they call it. You sense that, okay? And I think that's the biggest, most important question is, who is seeing? Who is watching? It's not the drop that is looking outside of the bottle. The drop is sitting amongst the ocean. Here it is. This is the drop of the bottle floating on the ocean. And then the drop begins to look outside of itself because the bottle is see-through. You know, it's at its door. And then it sees the ocean. If it's the drop seeing the ocean, the drop won't go into the ocean. We spoke about this in the month of the ego. The ego, and again, everything we're talking about right now is why we fear ourselves. As Mandela said in his speech, it is the light that we are afraid of, not the darkness. You know, we are afraid of ourselves, right? So, as we spoke about in the month of ego, we said that the ego is the part of you that has labeled itself as the ego. There's no such thing as ego. You've come to realize that in that month. You realize The ego is the part of you that doesn't exist. How do we realize that? Well, it's the part of you that is fighting for existence. It's the part of you that is building its existence, right? Which tells you it doesn't exist. Because if something is fighting for its existence, it doesn't actually exist. If something is looking to build its existence, it doesn't exist. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what are you talking about? But if you remember that month, we said, well, does existence look to build its existence? No? Why not? Because it already exists. It doesn't need to fight for its existence. It doesn't need to expand its existence. It doesn't need to develop its existence. It already exists. Existence is existence. And who you truly are is existence. So when you, as the infinite, as existence, manifested yourself in your own imagination into form, into duality, then each point of who you are, one part is here, one part sitting there, one part is sitting there, one part is the tree, whatever you want to call it. Each part then perceived to be separate. Just like the ocean manifests itself into the drop, the ocean manifests itself into the iceberg. Now the iceberg builds its own identity thinking, well, I am not the ocean, I am the iceberg. But no, you are the ocean, you're just frozen. Okay? You are who you are is formless, you're just showing up in form. And it appears that you are here in form. But that's just the appearance. You're not really in form. Just like the moonlight, the light coming from the moon is really not coming from the moon. It just appears to be that way, right? And the moment it appears to be that way, the form builds its own existence, builds its own identity, and says, I am this body. I am what I do. I am what I have. I am this iceberg. You see? But really, who you really are is, I am nothing else. I am nothing. But the moment you become something, I am the iceberg, well, now you're not the infinite ocean. In the metaphor, ocean's not really infinite. Now you are the iceberg. Can you see? I am. And that I am blah, blah, blah is the ego. That is now it doesn't really exist, but because there is a part of you that you gave existence to, it becomes its own entity. Just like the moment, like I said to you before, when you make a judgment, when you label something as positive and negative, it's just positive and negative. But the moment that positive or negative means something, it's almost like you give it its own life force. Now it means something and it's going to exist with or without you. It's going to be there. In other words, you put power into it. That's what I'm describing here. Go back to month 1. You put power into it. This is positive, this is negative. Now you've seen the duality, right? The moment you say this is good, this is bad, yes, you see the duality, but at this stage, it's just duality. It doesn't mean anything. I'm over here, you're over there. It doesn't mean anything. But the moment you're over there and you're reflecting something of myself that I haven't accepted, and I label that as bad or as good, then that means something now. So now I gave you existence. I chose to give you existence. And someone else is choosing to reflect reflect a different version of that existence within him. Can you see what I'm saying? We're just walking around reflecting to ourselves different versions of ourselves that we have labeled as good, bad, right, wrong, or whatever. But the moment you gave meaning, well, the moment that means something for you, now you gave it its own existence. That's what the ego is. The moment the ego starts to go, I am this body, I am my car, I am my job, I am what I do, the moment that means something, for example, well, if what I do is this, well, that means I feel secure, for example, right? The moment it means something, you have given it existence. It's temporary. It's not the eternal existence that I'm talking about. It's not existence itself. It is a version of existence. It is the shadow of the light. It's not the light within itself. It's the moon that's reflecting from the moon, the light, reflecting from the moon. It's not the sun, the light coming from the sun. It appears that it has life. And that's what the ego is. Now that we established that, we just recap what we spoke about in the month of the ego. What does the ego do? The ego then, well, the part of you that now thinks it exists, I exist as this solid, I exist as this individual, right? The ego then looks behind itself. And I'm not actually meaning behind yourself. Every time I say this, I notice people look behind themselves, right? I mean within itself. It turns its head around to see, where did I come from? What's this, what's the path that's got me to here? Because suddenly it realizes I exist. Just like when a baby is born, it realizes I exist. But somewhere along the path, you're going to go, well, where did I come from? And you're going to look behind you to see the steps that you've just taken to get to here. Because now you're in time. You have a past and future. And the moment you look behind you, you just see ocean. Or like the month of the ego, the way we described it, you look and you just see nothing. Emptiness. But how does the ego interpret the nothingness? Because the ego is a part of you that has come from form. If form walks into a void or a nothingness, then form cannot exist anymore. So the ego looks at the emptiness and goes, shit, there's something missing. I don't know what's that. It sees it as darkness rather than light. It sees it as nothing. Because the ego can only interpret something. Because it has formed itself through something. Therefore, it can only connect through the physical or through form. Through something. So therefore, as we go back to the month of the ego will go look back into form, into the prison, and looked to feel the void or feel what it perceives is missing. Because it's like you being half this body. Imagine me being here, and half of my body is cut. So I have no ass, right? It's all been cut. You got the front half. It's like then I look and go, shit, I hope no one sees my behind. There's something missing. There's a part of me missing. And it continuously looks to show this appearance of who I am and always trying to hide the behind. Because behind there's something missing. Now there's nothing missing. That nothingness is everything. The emptiness is who you are. It's the formless. Within the nothing is everything. Nothing is missing. So therefore, why am I sharing this and reminding you of this? Because if the ego walks out of this door and steps into the meaningless, or the part of you that is identified itself through form, walks outside this door, it will no longer exist, which is described as the death of the ego. If the bottom of this bottle becomes bottomless, and the drop falls back into the ocean, what happens to the drop? What happens to the existence of the drop? No more drop. The drop becomes the ocean. And it's not that the drop becomes the ocean, the drop realizes it always was the ocean. And now it's the ocean living through this limited part, through the form. It is the ocean going through. It is the power going through. Not one drop, ocean. I'll give you one more metaphor, and then we can put the fear behind us. The other reason it is why you fear to walk out that door, and these are just metaphors, there will be little realizations within yourself, okay? The other reason is because you think this drop or this body is going to walk outside. And if you were to look through and walk outside that door, imagine this drop. It thinks it has to put the entire ocean, all that water into this bottle. You'd be shit scared too. All that power into this bottle, into this. So before you can walk out, you must first realize, I am not this. Which is one of the things I talk about in the WGF program. I am not this. If you're not this, then who are you? So these are the questions you're starting to ask yourself. You're like, well, this is not who I am. When I'm not present, that's not who I am. But then the question comes, then who are you? So you begin to realize, you begin to be open to who you are. And that's what I mean by walking through the door, because you're walking through the door and having a realization of who you are, but you wouldn't walk through the door until you first realize who you're not. Who are you not? Let's turn that aircon on. Getting warm? Heated conversation. And that is why we fear ourselves. That is why we're just looking and feeling, but we're not walking through. And as you see in that movie, The Matrix, you remember The Matrix? Stay present. Don't worry about the beautiful girls running around right now trying to turn the aircon on. I got distracted myself. I'll just wait for them to finish. Thanks. How many women did it take to turn on the air conditioning? 2. Ha ha ha. I'm just joking. What did that mean? They took a blonde and a brunette. What does it mean by that? Who cares? Was that being sexist? Well, it depends what being sexist means for you. What does it mean? And let's say it was being sexist. What does that mean for you? Ask the question, what does that mean? He was being sexist. What does that mean? What does it mean for you that he was being sexist? That's when I always talk about, it's not about what's been said or what's been done. It's not about your circumstances, but it's about how you feel about it. Because how you feel about it is linked to the meaning you gave it. You see? Some of you guys are like probably sitting there going, oh, it didn't mean anything. Some of you women are sitting there going, you sexist pig, come here. Right? One has placed meaning on it, one has not. Or some of you men are like, yeah, that was a funny one. Again, you placed meaning on it. Just using a little example where I could find one. Microphone?
In every second there's an example, pretty much.
Just keep it on your chin.
Sorry, yeah. Every time, what you're saying is meaning is attaching a label. And the only thing that attaches a label is ego. So every time we are making any type of judgment, we're in ego, coming from duality.
Yep.
And that place we seek is outside that, away from that. I've just been sitting here making little judgments and then coming back and then coming back and then coming back. It's very interesting to realise how much time I spend not present, because that judgment is not being present. The minute there's a label of any description around anything that's going on, I'm not here.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I found since the retreat. I'm finding myself recognising when I'm not present, which is the first step to actually getting back to the present. It's been an interesting trip, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because the minute I make any sort of a judgment, I know I'm not here.
Yeah.
Because my ego's doing that, isn't it?
And just remember, this is like a catch-22, which one came first, the chicken or egg kind of thing that I'm about to say. The reason you're making judgments is because that represented something that you have given meaning to, right? And the moment you make judgment and give it a meaning, that then reinforces the judgment as real. It's the catch-22, the chicken and egg, but which one comes first kind of thing. But I just want you to realize that the moment you give it meaning, you reinforce the judgment as real. Then you notice you continuously make judgments about what you've given meaning to because you've given it meaning to it. You might have to hear that a couple of times. See, making a judgment or labeling something, I'll use more that word, labeling something without giving it meaning is more of an observation, okay? It's just part of the storyline. You know, it's part of your movie. You know, this person's playing this role. It's setting the stage. It doesn't really mean anything, right? But the moment this person represents something that means something for you, that's when you're experiencing one of your judgments. That's why when I say to people, you know, people go, well, everything's a reflection. Yes, it's a reflection. But some of the reflections that you're experiencing in your life don't mean anything to you. It's just part of the observation. To give you one example, at the retreat, we played the money game, right? And one of the experiences, you remember Amadeus, right, said, I'm not getting anything out of this game, right? And I said, why not? And he goes, because that money that's sitting right in front of me right now, the money that he had, it didn't mean anything. You see? It doesn't mean anything. Then that game is part of a bigger game. It's like, it's the setting of the movie that you're in. It's just part of setting the scene. It's just part of the observation. I observe right now that I walk outside and there's a street and there's cars going, right? It doesn't mean anything. It's just an observation. But that observation is still my reflection, but it's not charged. So it's just an observation. The moment it means something, like suddenly, for example, I walk outside, it's midnight, it's quiet, it's dark, and then suddenly, oh, that means something, means I'm alone. And then you feel alone. Oh, where is everyone? And you walk into the car park, it's all quiet. Oh, I feel scared, because it means something.
That was the game I was talking about before, not this game.
Yeah.
When I said, that's what the game's about.
Yeah.
I only just got it.
So tell us, what do you mean by that?
The game's about recognising that I've attached meaning to things. And if there's no meaning attached to things, no label, and the meaning's, as you said, the reinforcement of the label, then it doesn't matter. And I knew when I played that money game, I was in a place of fear and I had attachment, and I was the same as Amadeus. I had some money in there, but it wasn't really significant. And to force myself to play the game, to try and work out what it was about, I put something in of tremendous value to me, the most valuable thing I had with me, just to force myself to participate, because I was like Amadeus, you know, $100, who cares? I can survive that, you know? So the recognition is, I was still trying to work out what it really meant. I recognised the fear and the attachment, but what it really meant is that everything to which I attach meaning is not real. That's why I can't let it go.
It's only real according to the meaning you've given it.
Yeah, which is the label, the judgment I've made about it, yeah. I just found that to be quite an insight this morning as you were talking about it.
Great, thanks, John. Microphone.
I said I almost realised my answer was I'm about to ask the question, but I'll say it anyway. Can you consciously give meaning to something? And then with that, I like to sense that I'm intuitive sometimes, don't always trust myself, but I do sense that within me, outside of me, I get signs from my world. And I take meaning out of those because they connect with my heart. Maybe it's something that I've been thinking about, something that I've been dwelling on a larger scale than myself. And then I connect with that. I'll give you a very quick example. Had an amazing weekend, 6-hour drive down and back to the snow. And my mate, I call him my little Amir. He just, it's just so amazing to talk to him. He's just such a close friend. And it was the end of that, and I was driving home late on Monday night. And I was thinking how many people there are in the world that are just so depressed and so sad. And I sense that the world's changing, and I sense that people are expanding and that consciousness is growing. And as I was thinking about how sad it is for all these people who just aren't grasping it, aren't getting it, I was coming up from Coogee, and sitting in the middle of the roundabout was this. I got really scared because it was like it was a ghost or a vampire or something, and there was this girl sitting cross-legged just like this. She had her headphones on. It was just starting to spit rain in the dark, and she was just sitting there bawling, and all this mascara was falling down her face, and I came around the roundabout right in the middle of it. I'm thinking she could get hit, she could get killed, like she could run in front of a car. And I sort of stopped and I pulled my window down quite afraid, and I just said, "Are you okay?" And she just sort of sat there continuing to meditate, and then I said, "Hello, are you okay?" And she sort of heard me and said, "Yeah, no, I'm all right. I'm just chilling out and meditating." And I didn't really know what to do. Other cars were driving by. I just said, people care, people care. And that's all I could do. Drove home. I saw someone similar again sitting on the side of the road, an old man in a gutter at midnight, just sitting there in the dark. I drove home, and how can I not consciously want to attach some meaning to what the universe has just presented me based on the connection I'm having with my head and my heart during that day into that night?
So what's your question? How can I not associate some meaning to those signposts?
Yeah.
Well, see, this is really difficult for someone to swallow, right? And and it's the same realization that someone has at the end of a WTF, but they don't actually swallow that realization. That's why you come and do this kind of program. I help to dissect what's actually been said in the WTF experience, so you can slowly swallow it, piece at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's what we're doing here. But it's the same answer, and there's no meaning in that stop sign or that signpost. Although you, as the one, put meaning in that so it can hit and resonate and go, that's what that means. Okay? Like I said, we are meaning-making machines, making meaning out of something that is meaningless. So the truth with a capital T is that there's no meaning. And people are continuously, the number one thing people are looking for is the purpose and meaning of their lives. The purpose, and isn't that funny what today's about? Meaning and purpose. People are continuously looking for meaning and purpose. The purpose and the meaning of their lives. What they're really looking for is themselves. But they think that They put meaning and purpose and say, well, this book means this church means that, this signpost means this. So they place meaning on things, which is really what they're doing is avoiding finding meaning in themselves. Because the meaning's outside, the meaning's in this book, the meaning is about what this person's speaking about, right? But the meaning and purpose, which is really yourself, you're looking for yourself. And you came here to find yourself. You came here to lose yourself. And within losing yourself, you left little breadcrumbs to lead you back home. Those little breadcrumbs are signposts, right? And you gave meaning to those signposts to lead you back home, right? And back home means to realizing yourself. So most people here somewhere, whether they're aware of it or not, everyone is here because they're looking for meaning and purpose. Because it's the part that's missing. You're looking behind, oh, there's no meaning and purpose because there's nothing. If you can't see where you came from, if you can't see the footsteps in the sand and follow it back home, your identity is missing half of it. I have no ass. What happened to half of my identity? You're missing half of yourself. So therefore you then look for meaning and purpose in the other selves, which is really a reflection of yourself. Okay? And I'll say that again, what we're really looking for is meaning and purpose. But when you can't find meaning and purpose in yourself, or when you're not ready to find yourself yet, you will find meaning and purpose in the world. Well, my purpose is here to run meditation camps. My purpose is here to save the world. My purpose is here, I get meaning from doing this. I get this is what this means for me. And you live by the meaning and purposes that you have given to your physical form. But they are meaningless. You just place the meaning and purpose. So, such a big pill to swallow. You come to the WTF. If you ever revisit a WTF, which I would suggest you do, get yourself to a live one. There's one coming up in October in Sydney. And listen with new ears, all right? What we're actually saying, I don't know who we is, what I'm actually saying, all right, is that there is no meaning. Even when I say, in the beginning there's one ocean, one infinite being, and the one infinite being, I tell them, this is now a version of what I'm saying. This is not what this means, And then people just think, well, that's why we're here. We are here for love. No, you're not here for love. You are love, okay? You're not here for anything, right? But the for gives you meaning. Well, I'm here to do this. I'm here for this. Therefore, I have meaning now. Most people got meaning and purpose from religion. But as we have evolved, some has started to look outside of religion and gone, well, it's not in the religion, it's in myself. And then they got meaning and purpose from spirituality. And that's where we're at right now, from philosophy. But keep going, because your spirituality will go out the window too. All your practices, all your modalities, all go, because all the practices, all the modalities, and you have to meditate, and you have to levitate, and you have to be a vegan, all based on the meaning that you gave that. That ain't it either. That's you knowing the truth. This is the way it's got to be. There's no power. You come to, as you draw closer and closer through the different modalities, different practices, you get to the point of the middle, the center, where you realize there's nothing. This is the meaningless. But upon or within the meaningless is all the meaning. And that's not really, I can't put that into words. If I can put it into words like before, within the nothingness is everything. You look at nothing, you think, well, I don't want nothing, but the nothingness is all things, is everything. Well, the meaningless is what you're actually looking for, but you're looking to place meaning on things when you haven't found the meaningless. Okay? So So to answer your question, really, all of it means nothing. But the question is, how does that make you feel if it all meant nothing? You see, there's a part of you that's sitting inside of you going, looking for quickly to attach some kind of meaning based on what I just said. Well, there must be a meaning that it means nothing. You see? Could you feel the inside of you? Like do these? Like he does backflips and what the hell's going on? Like the moment you even realize there's no meaning, you're looking to attach a meaning to that there's no meaning. Because then you can grasp it. It's tangible. And that's why this path is not for everyone. Because some people are on this path to make meaning. But you're on this path really to come to undo the meaning. There's no meaning. But let me tell you something, and this is just to help some of you have some meaning to that, right? Because I know some of you are like gonna, really spin out. That's where you find love. Love is all things. The moment you say love means this, well, it doesn't. It's become a version of love. Just to ease the mind for a sec. Oh, okay, so then that's what it means. It means love, okay. As long as I got love. Microphone.
It's a challenge to recognise that I exist without meaning.
Because we give existence meaning. But the part of you that is looking to exist is the part that we give meaning to. But the part of you that is existence doesn't need meaning. It exists, and that doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. But within that nothing, it means everything.
You just described exactly what I went through last week after the retreat. I was in this really funny space and I just got that deep sense where everything is irrelevant and nothing means anything. What the hell am I doing here? What am I supposed to do now? Yeah.
But that question is really powerful, because if you can get to a place where you realize you're not supposed to do anything, nor are you meant to do something. You keep attaching this word, well, it's meant to be. It's only meant to be according to the meaning that you've given it. You know how you say, oh, well, that's what's meant to be. I would go buy a new motorcycle. I go inside, sign the paperwork. I come outside and a big bird is shat on it. And I was like, well, that's what's meant to happen because it's good luck. I'm about to ride off my motorcycle. I give it meaning. Well, it could mean you're going to walk out and you could crash the motorcycle. You know what I mean? Like, it's the idea of what's meant to be comes according to the meaning you've given. Meant to be and meaning, they're hand in hand. They're linked. What's meant to be is linked to what meaning you've given something. Now, it's very difficult to put this in words. There's a difference between what you think is meant to be that is associated to what meaning you've given something versus what's meant to be. But the second one, what's meant to be, doesn't have why it's meant to be. You see? When I say you as the identity, your version of what's meant to be, that's why it's meant to be. Because, see, I didn't know why it was meant to be, but now I know why it's meant to be. Because that has got me to this, and that got me to this, and that. And if I didn't do that, then I would have never been here. So therefore, I just gave meaning to, bless you, what was meant to be. But the real what's meant to be doesn't have a reason of why it is. It just is. Can you see what I'm saying? when you look, if you think about it, every time you found the things that's meant to be, you're meant to be, it has associated a meaning. Well, it's meant to be because, you know, I just got to go through struggles and I need to go through pressure to get to the place of really realizing, you know, oh, this is preparing me. These are all things that you've given meaning to. None of it is true. And then there is what's meant to be, which is what is. But it, full stop. It doesn't have what's meant to be because. The because is your meaning you've given to it. See, most people in the spiritual field, they're like, well, this is meant to be. And they'll look for a positive outcome for it. It's meant to be because there's a because. That's what I can say. I have a reason why it's meant to be. And it just makes me feel better to know that it's meant to be. That's not the real meant to be. The real meant to be doesn't have a reason. It's meant to be because it is what it is. I mean, it's meant to be what it is. How do you know it's meant to be? Because it is what it is. But the moment you have a label of what it is, it goes back to your meaning, and then you're associating, well, maybe this is meant to be because da-da-da-da. Well, I know what happened to me in the past was meant to be because I wouldn't have been here. How do you know? How do you know? So be aware of the meant to be. A lot of your meant to be is based on the meaning you've given something. And, you know, like I said, you know, if someone is in the personal development realm, and you know, I would say, hey, better be positive than negative, and you try to get them a positive outlook. If someone's in the spiritual realm, you tell them, hey, it's meant to be, and let them have a meaning for what's meant to be. But if someone is on the path of truth, it's about being, you know, peeling all these layers of meaning back and getting back to the meaningless. Then I have a different conversation with you. This is not personal development, it's not spirituality, it's truth. And truth is. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
While you're saying that, I keep hearing que sera, sera, which is whatever will be, will be.
Yeah.
I just keep hearing that, so that's why I was smiling, so I just wanted to share.
Yeah. We're ready to sing that together? No. Yeah. So, what I would invite you to do over the break, is have a little ponder about all the things that you have labeled as meant to be's and all the things that you have meaning on. If I'm in a relationship, that would mean I would be happy. If I have a job, what does that mean? You see, you have a meaning associated with having the job. If I don't have a job, well, what does that mean? You see, go look at the meaning you've given it. Well, it would mean I would be insecure. Okay? Right? Bring that word in, and then we'll continue to dissect. And I'll tell you what you meant, what you can do with what you find. Hang on, who had a hand up? Someone did have a hand up here. Okay, maybe it was there.
What would that mean indicates to me that I'm in a state of fear, because the state of love is where it has no meaning. So
yeah. So this practice is for you to look at the areas of your life that you have given meaning to. And once you find, so in other words, it matters because you've given meaning to it. Because the truth with a capital T is, it doesn't matter. All the things that you think matter actually doesn't matter, because it's going to be what it's going to be. You think that you are going to influence what is going to be based on you, but it doesn't matter. That's why you can't make mistakes. It actually doesn't matter. What matters is the meaning you've placed on it. And I want you to look at the meaning you've placed on things. So go to look at your life and go, what matters? Or go, snap, crackle, pop, this matters, this matters, this matters, this matters, this matters. Okay, what do they mean for me? And you'll just see the meaning you've given it. So then, what would it mean if I didn't have that? Let me tell you something, guys. This month, like I said, was what I feel is the final month, right? It's not the final month, but it's that quality. Because this month is all about you self-realizing. This is not about me coaching you or anyone else coaching you. Because then you're, again, in a nutshell, you can't get coached on this. I'm giving you enough fuel for you to have questions and ponder on yourself and have self-realizations. Like the Matrix, I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. I'm showing you the door. I've been showing you the door for every month for the last 8-9 months. This next 2 or 3 months, what's left, I feel is all about you working on yourself and having self-realizations. We noticed this at the retreat. For those who were at the retreat, the insights that came out of your mouth were very different from day one to the final day, where some of those stuff, for those who weren't at the retreat, go look. We took photos of some of the amazing insights and truths that people wrote on the whiteboard after sitting there in a day of silence and having pondering sessions and realizing truths. They're on the forum now, aren't they? They're not yet? Okay, okay, they will be. We took photos of every single one. Like, where did that stuff come from? It came from you, but not here. It came from here. So, I want you to ponder on it. And I just want you to ponder on the meaning you've given to things. That's all. What does that mean for me? So ask yourself a question, what is important for me? Do you know, in truth, you know what's important in truth? Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't matter. But within that nothing, everything matters. But if you say in truth or love matters when I do this, but then you're disregarding the rest of love. Nothing. So then you ask the question to yourself, what matters? All right? Now, I'm not saying it doesn't matter what you think matters. All I want you to do is see the meaning you've given it. It means something, and you place that meaning onto it. Now, you might go, no, society placed that meaning onto it, or the love I feel placed that meaning on it. Okay, the love you feel has no meaning. It's eternal if it's real infinite love. You just then placed a meaning to that love, and you almost kept the love away from you. You gave it a box. And you said, this is my child, and this is what this means. Like, can you see what you have to put behind you if you are to walk through the door to what's meaningless? I just want you to see. Maybe some of you might not return to OMG after this month because you might be comfortable in the things you've given meaning to. I mean, can you see where this path is leading? You will put aside, you will put behind you all the meaning you've given to form. So therefore, the things that you've given meaning to, whether it's your child or whatever, if you take the meaning away, you become one with them. You become one with whatever you feel is important. It's no longer going to be important for you to keep it safe because it is now you. You are one with that now. You see, most people, when I say what is important for you, right? The more you are one with everything, the more your answer is nothing. But what you find separation to, right? You will go, oh, this is really important for me, but it's a different important. It's important for me. I need to keep this safe, away from harm. You only need to keep something safe, away from harm, if you can't see yourself in it, because you've given it meaning. Take the meaning away, it is you. It can never be taken away from you. If you've given the form of it meaning, so go on your lunch break, ask yourself what's important for me. And then ask yourself, well, what does that mean for me? What does it mean if I have it? What does it mean if I don't have it? And just keep pondering about things. And then after lunch, I'll tell you what you are to do with some of those meanings over the month. Like I said, this month is about self-realization. You have to realize it. So I'm going to give you a little simple something to follow, some questions that you're going to ask yourself throughout the month to peel layer, layer, layer back. What did you really think I was saying at the WTF? We are meaning-making machines, making meaning out of something that has no meaning. How can you go back home to who you are with all these meanings? You can't. You have too much meaning, your head doesn't fit through the door. You cannot take the meaning with you. Think about this. Like, this is the consideration you should have. What happens when you're on your deathbed? If you are on your deathbed right now and you were told that you have 3 days left to live, that's when you are ready to give up the meanings you've placed on everything. And you know someone who dies peacefully. You've seen it probably. They say, I'm ready. But before they're ready, they gave up everything that meant something. The one who's not ready to die is not willing to give up everything that meant something. But the one who dies peacefully gives up all that meant something. All that's left is themselves, not themselves and all the meanings they have associated. It's about the naked truth. That's why our new show, we changed the name. It's no longer Journey of the Intuitive Warrior. One day it came to me, it's the naked truth. Not the truth that has all the meanings associated, but the truth that is naked. Like, that's where you'll find your power. Otherwise, when you're saying, well, this means, 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 that's what you're saying is, this is where I have all my power. And what I'm saying is not for everyone. Like the WTF experience, we're having different interpretations, or this is being digested at different levels. You're digesting it exactly at the level you are meant to digest it at. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. I haven't digested it myself yet. And I have to sit down and go, really? That's what happened when I first started doing the WTF programs. I was the first one to sit after a weekend of doing the WTF. I would sit down for about 4 or 5 days, or sometimes 20 days, and just sit and ponder about what I just said. And I'll say this again. This is self-realization. You'll notice that this training program is a self-realization. This means you must realize. It's not about me coaching you to realize. You must realize. It's not about me disciplining you to realize. It's not about me giving you lots of pegs, lots of practices. Very, 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 very few practices. It's about you realizing it. Because the more practices I give to you, the more disciplines I give to you, the more meaning you give to those disciplines. It's nothing, nothing. You are to become dust again. Dust in the metaphor, dirt in the metaphor is nothing. You walk on dirt. It means nothing. You walk on the dirt. When you have physical death, you get put 6 feet underneath the dirt. All right? This is not about physical death, what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is being alive while you are in this body. This is the death of the ego, the death of the self as the individual. For as long as you are looking outside, you will never walk through that door. What you have to come to realize is that you are not looking outside. It's outside looking through you outside. And like I said a couple months ago, the next 6 months, or the second half of this program, is all about coming back out. The most powerful way of coming back out is for you to realize you already are out. You're looking through your eyes out.